Okay, it's 9 o'clock. This is the meeting of the Private and Local Bills Committee. Call to order. I'd like to start with introductions, which I will start with MLA for Halifax Needham. Did I do good with that?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, wow.
Hi, I'm Susie Hansen, the MLA for Halifax Needham.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lachance, the MLA for Halifax Little Sable Island.
You're going to Yes.
Karen Kinley, Legislative Counsel, Clerk of the Committee.
John M. McDonald, I'm the Chair of the Committee.
Dave Ritzy, MLA for Truro Bible Hill, Millbrook, Salmon River.
John White, MLA for Glace Bay and Dominion.
Good morning and welcome. Melissa Sheehy-Richard, I'm the MLA for Hants West.
I see from the agenda that we have one bill to consider today, Bill 205, and a presenter from St. FX University. Would the Legislative Council please report on whether the requirements for Bill 205 have been met?
Yes, the bill has had first and second reading. It was advertised in the Chronicle Herald on Friday, October 21st, last week, and it's ready for private and local.
Okay. Would the presenter please come forward and state your name and any organization you are representing for the record? You'll have 10 minutes to present and 5 minutes for questions.
Recently retired, but they bring me back for special occasions, and this was one of them. So.
And I'm Karen Gardner. I'm a member of the Board of Governors of St. Francis Xavier University.
So, committee members, the reason for us being here is simply to provide context for the amendments that are being put forward to the Universities Act. I thought it would be worthwhile just for you to understand how they came about and what's the purpose behind them. This is something that we've been working on for probably about coming on 3 years now. We had an external governance review done of the university's Board of Governors in late 2019, got the report in April of 2020. Then you'll remember that date as being right around the time when the pandemic sort of put us on the side rails for a little while and delayed us proceeding forward with the full recommendations. But then more recently, we've gotten back to the report to try and make some moves. The governance review was wide-ranging in terms of recommendations that it made for improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the university's administration. And one of the areas that it focused quite a bit on was the size and composition of the Board of Governors for the university. Under the current act, the board has a composition that can be as high as 45. To say that could get unruly would be a mild understatement. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that and being in large settings. And there's a variety of different stakeholder groups that are involved in making appointments to the board. Based on a review of about 45 different universities across the country, the consultant that did our external review recommended a board size of 22. And that was consistent with where, certainly in Western Canada and increasingly into Eastern Canada, universities are going to that size. Following receipt of the recommendations, the board did a workshop amongst its own membership, first of all, just to see where the level of support was. And then we reached out to a few of the constituency stakeholder groups that make appointments to the board. So that includes faculty, students, alumni. The Catholic Church still has an involvement with appointments to the board as well. To seek their input and to make sure that we had everybody on side with the changes we want to make. As a result of that outreach and a bit of back and forth with the board, we ended up with a recommendation of a board size of 24. So slightly higher than what the consultant had recommended, but it was basically to appease some of the various constituency groups and keep things on side. When that recommendation came back to the board for consideration in June, it was unanimously approved by the board. and the amendments to the legislation were considered by the board at a special meeting in early October, and again, were unanimously approved to come forward. So that's the amendments that you've got before you largely deal with the size and composition of the board to move to that new size of 24. There are a couple of what I would classify as more sort of housekeeping amendments within the act as well, but the substantive changes within the legislation are dealing with the size and composition of the board. So I think with that, Carol, I'm not sure if you had anything else you wanted to.
No, I don't have anything to add. I guess the only thing is, as the proposed amendments state, is that the changes would come into effect on July 1st, and that's when we will be looking to reduce the size of the board. So we will have some time to figure out the mechanics between the constituency groups that are going to be affected.
Thank you. And before I go to questions, I'll allow the member for Timberley Prospect, correct, to introduce.
Sure. Ian Rankin, Timberley Prospect. My colleague Mike is just coming in now, I believe, as well. Yeah. Traffic's heavy today.
Yeah. I got here with 90 seconds to spare, so. And we'll just wait 1 sec, so. And I forget Laura Lee, so.
What's
Your name,
Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Oh, MLA for Cole Harbour, Dartmouth.
Laura Lee Nickel, not to be mistaken.
Okay. So do we have any questions? We have 5 minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none? Yeah. So is there a motion on Bill 205? Okay. MLA for Bible Hill,
Truro Bible Hill.
Millbrook, Salmon River?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move Bill to.
Oh, I apologize. I was going back.
Okay.
I didn't see your hand. Apologize. No problem. The member from Sable Hill, Sable Island.
Her name in
Oh.
this committee, like you could say, MLA.
Emily LaChance.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering if further to all the work that you've already done, looking at the size of your board, have you had any further discussions because of the overall governance review that the government is leading, and do you feel like these changes, it's hard to anticipate what's coming forward, but do you think these changes will be in line?
It's reducing it to 24.
We have had discussions with the. We have had discussions with the Department of Advanced Education in regards to this. The indication we've been given is that the changes we're making are very consistent with the direction that the government sees in terms of improving governance in universities. From our standpoint, this is the first step in terms of a number of things that we're looking at, and Karen, as chair of our Governance and Nominating Committee, will be proceeding forward with a number of other areas within the recommendations from the report that talk about diversity and inclusion on the board and having a proper diversity policy, looking at the relationship between the Board of Governors and Senate, being the Senate being the academic decision-making body within the university. So, and then there's recommendations around the relationship between the President and the Board of Governors and improving that sort of accountability framework as well. But we've participated actively with advanced education in terms of providing information on what we were doing with our governance review. Provided them with a copy of the governance review, which I think they were quite pleased to get, and so we think it's very consistent with the directions that are being looked at from that standpoint.
That it, Emily LaChance? Sorry about that. Emily Nickel. Just a sec. There you go, Emily Nickel.
Thank you. I was just wondering, so how many are on your board before?
Mr. Beckett, I keep forgetting I'm supposed to tell them to turn the mic on, but they do great without me.
The current legislation allows for up to about 45 members on the board. We operate at about 35, and the proposed amendments would take it down to 24.
Emily Nickel.
Just as a follow-up, so is it because every faculty had to be represented on that board? I wonder why so many.
Mr. Beckett.
It's University administration is a fascinating beast, to say the least, with a variety of different stakeholders involved in it. I would say from the standpoint of St. FX that we're going through an evolution in terms of our relationship with the Catholic Church. To be quite candid about it. Under our current composition, the priests of the diocese appoint 6 members to the board. The bishop is an appointee to the board, as well as 2 members appointed by the bishop. This will see a dramatic reduction in terms of the number of appointees from the Catholic Church. That we absolutely want to respect the Catholic heritage of the university. It is something that we hold to be very important in terms of the history of the institution. But in terms of evolving where we are as a secular university, that's one of the areas that was reduced. But then reducing from being 35 down to 24 involved less faculty members. So we're going from 4 faculty members on the board to 2. Student representation goes from 3 to 2, because what we looked at was all the constituency groups having the same number of appointees. And then to make sure that we've got proper skill sets around the table, there are up to 12 appointees by the board, which allow for then that proper skills evaluation to make sure that we've got the skills that we need around the table for decision-making, making informed decision-making.
MLA Nickel, with about 20 seconds before the 5 minutes is up.
Just a question, thank you. Just to ask if that's consistent with other secular universities in Nova Scotia.
Mr. Barrett. Or Bartlett, sorry.
It's consistent with the evolution that's taking place in a lot of the universities that formerly had strong religious ties. St. Mary's went through it a number of years ago. Mount Allison in New Brunswick went through it probably about 10, 12 years ago. Acadia's gone partway as well. And again, these things tend to be evolution, not revolution, because you're trying to keep stakeholders engaged along the way. But yes, I think it's very consistent with the direction that's being taken on these.
Thank you. And now, MLA Ritchie for the motion.
I move that presentation of Bill 205 now be concluded.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. There being no further business, the meeting,
Just close. He didn't do the next one.
well, why does it only show me once on this? That's okay.
Because you guys have thrown us a new curve.
Oh, I see. Sorry. So you changed my motion on me, that's why. Okay, MLA Ritchie.
I move that Bill 205, St. Francis Xavier University Act amended, be reported back to the House without amendments.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Now, being no further business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.